to, what is it, May?
May.
The May version, or installment, as Daryl likes to give me a hard time over, of the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. Looks like we have at least one person online. My eyes are not awesome. Michelle online, 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and do introductions, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Let's start with, do it, Eric. Yeah.
Eric Henriksen, Minnesota Council on Disability.
Patty Thorson, Trellis.
Kevin Petrie, Recording Secretary.
Daryl Paulson, region, I think it's F. I represent almost every region on this committee, except for 3 of them, I think. But, and also the vice chair.
David Fenley, Chair.
Cheryl Schmidt, Metro Mobility.
Julie Sellner, Metro Mobility.
Patsy Murphy, Precinct C.
Doug Cook, Metro Transit.
Claudia Fugly, MNCCD.
Thank you, members and support staff. We also have a land acknowledgement that Eric is going to read for us.
Thank you. Yes, this is the Dakota Land, Water, and People Acknowledgement. The Metropolitan Council acknowledges that the land we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral homeland of the Dakota Oyate, who are present and active contributors to our thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, and the fact that the government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, benefited economically, politically, and institutionally after the forcible removal of the Dakota Oyate, the Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in regional policy. These commitments support the Dakota Oyate, the 11 federal recognized tribes in Minnesota, Ho-Chunk Nation, and the American Indian communities representing over 150 diverse tribal nations that call the 7-county region home.
Thank you very much, Eric. I don't think we have, even with a couple of resignations, I don't think we have a quorum yet, so hopefully some more folks will
I'm online. I'm here.
Sam's
Sam
on there too.
Jasmine.
Perfect, Sam. I think we're up to 7. I'll hold off on doing approval of the agenda and the minutes. Maybe we can get 1 or 2 more people in the meeting. Let's just dive right in to Beeline overview and underlying local service. We have Mark and Alyssa. Are y'all here or not yet? Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I am not Mark Christensen. I'm Cindy Harper. I am Manager of Route Planning for Metro Transit's Service Development Department.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, or morning. My name is Alicia. I do go by Sia. I'm Community Outreach Coordinator for the Beeline. Excited to be here.
Thank you both very much.
Yep. Cool. Go ahead.
All right, so what are we gonna be talking about today? We're just doing an overview of the Beeline. We're going to talk about what is a BRT, the background of the project, some features and amenities that you'll see, the route overview, our partners, how to ride, and then also getting it over to Cindy for the service changes and underlining local service. Then we will have a Q&A. All right, so what is BRT? What is a bus rapid transit? Essentially, it's a high-frequency, limited stop, faster, more reliable service, and it comes with a few key features that you'll see. Some of them include bus-only lanes and key areas, off-board fare payment, so you pay before you get on. They also have very distinctive buses that allow for all-door boarding. You will have real-time departure signs, enhanced stations with lighting, shelters, and security features, and frequent service that is about every 10 to 15 minutes. So a little bit of the background here. Why did we pick this area? It's the second busiest Metro Transit route with more than 10,000 rides daily. This was obviously pre-pandemic. It is also one of the slowest corridors. So buses are moving at an average speed of about 8 miles per hour. Again, the BRT is designed, or the Beeline is designed to have faster, more reliable, more frequent service between Minneapolis and St. Paul. We started our planning and engagement back in 2019, which continues today and will continue past the launch, which happens on June 14th, since we are fully replacing the Route 21 with the Beeline service. We want to make sure that everyone that uses the Route 21 knows that this service will be going away June 14th and know how to ride the Beeline. Again, it launches on June 14th. With celebrations happening in Minneapolis, between Lake and Chicago, and then in St. Paul at Union Depot. All right, what type of amenities can you expect? So I kind of already mentioned this already. You have some real-time next trip signs with on-demand audible announcements, let you know when you can expect your next ride. You have push-button heating, lighting, emergency telephones and security cameras, bike racks with trash bins, pre-boarding ticket machines and validators since you board or you pay before you board. There's also benches. So what is the route? It's approximately 13 miles long with 33 stations. It runs from Lake and Friends in Minneapolis to Union Depot, which is downtown St. Paul, through Lake Street, Marshall, and Selby Avenue. It will connect with the A line, the D line, the Green line, the Gold line, the Orange line, and other local routes. We are also launching 3 underlining services at the same time that we're launching the B line, which is the 27, the 38, and the 72. There's about 106,000 people that live within a 10-minute walk or roll of the Beeline, which of that, 42% are BIPOC. So the service hours are weekday and Saturday eastbound from 4 a.m. to 1:30 a.m., weekdays Saturday westbound 4 a.m. to 2 a.m., and then on Sundays eastbound and westbound from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. As I've already mentioned, we started our community engagement efforts back in 2019, which do continue today and will continue after post-launch. What we're doing really is just trying to make sure that people know how to ride the system. They know where it's going. They also know that the Route 21 is being fully eliminated, what stops are being eliminated, what stops are turning into local, different local routes. And this includes open houses, meetings, presentations, pop-ups, office hours, community events, tabling, just the whole 9 yards when it comes to engagement. We are also planning some robust engagement efforts for our Route 21 stops that are being fully eliminated that won't transfer into a different local route. So this includes rider alerts. They will be digital as well as posted at the stops that are being eliminated. We also have a postcard mailer going out that tells the difference between the Beeline and the Route 21. We will have ambassadors during our launch day at stations roaming around to let people know, hey, this route no longer is in service. Here's your nearest route, or here's your nearest station. We also have some pre-launch outreach. We are also partnering for the first time with community-based organizations that are deeply rooted in communities within the corridor to help with our outreach, specifically for the Somali and Spanish-speaking communities along the line. And they will be with us until July 14th as well. We're planning some newsletters that are dedicated to stop closures and other type of robust engagement, just to make sure that people are fully aware that, you know, those stops are gone and eliminated. Our partners, we had a lot of collaboration with Hennepin County, Ramsey County, the City of Minneapolis, and the City of St. Paul through the Lake Street Improvement Project. We worked together with Hennepin County as well as the City of Minneapolis to make Lake Street safer and more efficient for all modes of travel, whether you're walking, biking, rolling, or using public transportation. And then the key improvements in that area also have these beautiful red bus-only lanes that I'm pretty sure you all have seen, hopefully by now. You also have transit signal priority and upgraded pedestrian ramps to boost safety. All right, how do you ride it? So first things first, you gotta buy a ticket. But you can buy a ticket at a station, ticket machine or validators through cash or card. You can also use our Metro Transit app. You can go online. You can use your go-to card as well. Once you have your fare paid, you can board any door. And if you are stopped by our community resource officers or trip agents or our Metro Transit PD, because we are on we do have a presence on our system, then all you have to do is show your proof of payment. We also have a few fare fare programs available like TAP, which is a transit assistance program that allows if you're eligible for $1 fares. We also have senior, student, and disability discounts available as well. For the B-Line, we will have 21 60-foot buses that have quantum and Q-strength tech on them. The quantum is a self-service, so you're able to press a button and then some mechanical arms come down and they hold on to the wheels of the wheelchair or whatever you're using. It does happen to be rear facing, so you will be facing other people on the bus. We also have two Q-strengths that are front facing on either side, so you have one on the left side as well as one on the right side. The buses do happen to be at level with the curb for the B-Line stations, and so there's no need to kneel the bus to have the ramp come out, and so it's a lot faster, it's at level, and you're able to just roll on. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to Cindy.
Thank you. All right, now that Sia has gotten you all excited about the B-Line, I'm going to share some of the other changes to bus service in the Lake Street, Marshall, and Selby Avenue corridors that are also going to be starting on June 14th. The B-Line is Metro Transit's fourth arterial BRT line. Before each of these lines has launched, we've reviewed whether additional or supplemental service is needed in the corridor. We analyze ridership, demographic data, and population data, and also examine critical destinations and their location in relation to the BRT stations. In general, arterial BRT lines and their stations are designed to be the primary service in the corridor, and we need to make the case for any additional service. Factors that we consider include station spacing. So in the case of the B-Line, they are primarily every 1/2 mile. Ridership beyond a short travel distance of these stations. So we focus really on activity that is more than a 1/4 mile away from these stations, so looking at those gaps. 1/4 mile is generally considered a reasonable travel distance to access a local route service. Some of those critical destinations that we look at include grocery stores, healthcare, educational institutions, and some of the population data that we look at includes where people who are living below the poverty level, over the age of 65, Black, Indigenous, or other communities of color, and who use limited mobility go-to cards or ask the Route 21 drivers to deploy ramps where that's happening. So that's all the data that we take a look at. We also consider if there is a need to connect riders to other areas beyond the BRT alignment. So especially if the BRT doesn't fully mirror the route that it is replacing, which is the case here with the Route 21. The B-Line is staying south of I-94 when you get into St. Paul. It's not traveling up through the Midway area, so we have that to fill. And then also we think about operational considerations with the B-Line. As Sia mentioned, we have bus-only lanes in parts of this corridor. There's also places where we are doing what we call in-lane stopping, which basically means that for a BRT, it's okay because people aren't having to pay as they get on. You know, it's pretty quick on and off. But for local routes, you're still dealing with the regular person getting on, paying the fare at the fare box. And so those in-lane stops don't allow for passing, and so we want to make sure that we are not getting in the way of the B-Line buses with local buses. Also thinking about our transit signal priority, which is the system that either, if you're running late, either shortens a red light cycle or extends a green. So we just really want to make sure that the service we're putting out there doesn't get in the way of the B-Line buses being able to achieve their potential. So key demographic number one, and these demographics are not in any particular order, is looking at senior populations in the B-Line corridor. So the average percent of seniors that are within a 1/4 mile of the B-Line is slightly lower than the regional average, 12% versus about 15%. The highest population of seniors in the B-Line alignment live west of Hennepin Avenue, between 36th Avenue and Cleveland, and then between Dale and Kellogg. And the lowest population of seniors along the line are in Minneapolis between Hennepin and Minnehaha Avenues, and then in St. Paul between Cleveland and Hamlin. Another key group is low-income groups, low-income communities. The average percent of individuals in the Beeline corridor that are low income is approximately 29%, which is higher than the regional average of about 18%. In the corridor, the highest percentage of individuals that are low income live between Lyndale and Minnehaha in Minneapolis, and between John Ireland and Smith Avenue on the edge of downtown St. Paul. The lowest population of low-income individuals are west of Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis, and then between 36th Avenue and Cleveland Avenue. A third key demographic we consider is BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, or people of color communities. So the average percent of BIPOC along the Beeline is higher than the regional average. About 40% of the residents along the Beeline are Black, Indigenous, or other people of color. That regional average is about 31%. The highest percentage of these individuals along the Beeline live in Minneapolis between Lyndale and Hiawatha, and then in downtown St. Paul. The lowest population of these individuals is, again, west of Hennepin Avenue, between 36th Avenue and Cleveland Avenue. So hopefully you're starting to see some themes in terms of where the highest populations for each of these groups are living, where the lowest populations are living. And actually, I'm going to do this in a slightly different order. I will come back to these slides, but I wanted to talk about the fourth demographic as long as I was covering the other three. And that is, we review where persons with disabilities, with physical disabilities, who use go-to cards that are limited mobility go-to cards, or who, when they're writing the Route 21, ask to have the ramp deployed. We have that information every time the ramp is deployed on a bus. We can tell where it's at and when it is. So on Route 21 today, there's an average of about 430 limited mobility tags and ramp deployments on an average weekday. About 22% of those are happening beyond 1/8 of a mile of a Beeline station. About 11% of those are beyond 1/4 mile of a Beeline station, and almost all of that number is for the section of the Route 21 that is north of I-94 as you go through the Midway area between Snelling and Hamlin. We're going to be filling that gap. I'll tell you more about that in just a second. And so when you do take into consideration all of the underlying service we will be providing, that number drops from 22% to 6% beyond 1/8 of a mile of a station, which is one short block, and then 0 beyond 1/4 mile of a Beeline station. Okay. All right, so as we look at all of these factors, they led us to a service plan that maintains local service in most, but not all, of the Beeline corridor. There are 3 routes in Minneapolis that will still serve parts of Lake Street. The first one I want to discuss is it's a new route number, Route 27. Now, if you've ridden with Metro Transit for a while, you may be familiar with that number. We used to have a Route 27 that served South Minneapolis that stopped running about 3 or 4 years ago. This is the same number because it's a similar area of town, but it is not exactly the same route. The new version of this route will run hourly every day, 7 days a week, between the Uptown Transit Station and the Lake and Minnehaha area. Eastbound buses, as shown on this map, the eastbound buses will travel via Hennepin, Lake, 4th Avenue South, 28th Street, Cedar, Lake, and Minnehaha. And the westbound buses will travel via 27th Avenue, Lake, Cedar, 26th Street, Portland, Lake, Lagoon, and Fremont to the Uptown Transit Station. Two other routes in Minneapolis will also serve part of Lake Street. Route 17 will operate as it does today, on Lake Street between Hennepin Avenue and France Avenue. That runs it, so that's existing route. No changes are happening to the Route 17. Just wanted to point out that it is one of the routes that helps cover this corridor. The blue route on the map is the Route 27 that we just discussed on the previous slide. As I mentioned, it runs on Lake Street, specifically between Hennepin and Portland, and then again between Cedar and Minnehaha. It's also using 26th and 28th Streets, those one-way pairs, for better neighborhood connectivity. And also wanted to mention a new route number, Route 38, which is shown in purple. It is actually a restructuring of two existing routes. We're basically taking today's Route 23 and today's Route 612, gluing them together and renumbering them. And so in the Beeline corridor, this new Route 38 will be running on Lake between Lindale and Excelsior. So in Minneapolis, the only sections of Lake Street that will not have any local service are between Portland and Cedar, and then from Minnehaha east to the river. In these segments, today's Route 21 ridership matches pretty closely with where the BRT stations are placed, especially when we look at where seniors, low income, BIPOC, and persons with disabilities are living. So moving east across the river to St. Paul, probably the biggest change between today's Route 21 and the Beeline is in St. Paul between Snelling and Hamlin Avenue. The Beeline is going to remain south of I-94 instead of popping up to use University Avenue in order to serve destinations like Cub and Target, Allianz Field, the Green Line Station. The Beeline buses, as Sia mentioned, are going to operate via Marshall, Snelling, and Selby. So we have a new route number, Route 72, that's going to fill the need of today's Route 21 between downtown St. Paul and the Midway area and the Selby Avenue neighborhoods. It's going to run every 30 minutes, 7 days a week, and allows us to maintain a one-seat ride for people living in the Selby Avenue neighborhood looking to go up to the services and shopping and such available in the Midway area. We looked at, one of the things we did look at as we were reviewing this is we looked at the Route 21 ridership in the Midway area in particular, that section north of I-94. And there was very much a predominant direction of travel, people coming from the neighborhoods along Selby Avenue and to the east up to the Midway area to do their shopping and errands and such. We also looked at how many people were coming from those neighborhoods to the west, so Fairview, Cleveland, Cretin Avenues, and it was a much lower number. So that's why we have the Route 72 filling the need along east of the Midway area. So the only section of the Beeline in St. Paul that won't have local service will be along Marshall, between the river and Snelling. This section of St. Paul has lower than average numbers of low income, BIPOC, people over the age of 65, and people with disabilities. And the key destinations are close to the BRT stations here. Okay, covered that one. So this is my last slide. So when you look at the Route 21 ridership, as Sia mentioned, over 10,000 rides a day. And approximately 18% of them are more than 1/8 of a mile, 6% are beyond a quarter mile. But with our underlying service, when you take the routes 17, 27, 38, and 72 into consideration, those numbers drop to 3% within 1/8 of a mile and 0 within more than a quarter mile. So overall, we feel that we have a good balance between the Beeline as the primary service in this corridor and additional local service where it's appropriate. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Awesome, thank you very much. Questions from members? That was very comprehensive. Thank you.
Mine's probably pretty basic.
Go ahead.
A quarter of a mile, is that what, like 4 blocks?
It depends on, a quarter of a mile would be roughly 1,200 feet, 1,250 feet. In terms of how many blocks it is, it depends on where you're at. I will say that generally for a traditional city block like Minneapolis or St. Paul, it tends to be, quarter mile is 2 long blocks or 4 very short blocks.
Okay.
It's a little bit harder to say that in St. Paul, given the spacing of the streets.
4 short blocks in like a suburb or something like that with, I think I know what you're saying.
Any other questions from members? Nothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Jasmine.
Oh, Sam, yes.
Sam might have-
That's right, we have people online that I
Sorry,
forgot
I
to
was trying to
acknowledge.
unmute.
And we didn't see it either, Sam. The presentation didn't flip.
Go ahead, Sam.
I just have a question. It's actually just I don't know what you call it, but if somebody is stopped and their ticket is supposed to be checked and they don't have a ticket, they didn't pay, what happens?
So I just want to make sure that I'm hearing your question correctly. You're saying that if someone is on our services and they're stopped by like a community resource officer, MTPD, or our trip agents, and they don't have proof of fare, what happens to them?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of case by case. I would assume that, I don't want to give you an inaccurate answer, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you something that is 100% accurate. So is there a way that I can actually follow up with you and tell you exactly what our steps are for situations that arise like that?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see. Do I just give you my email address, or are you is contact listed on the meeting or the notes sent out for the meeting?
Yes, it's at the very last slide. I'm Alicia Bell.
Okay. All right. I can touch base with you and give you my contact. I was just curious, and I was curious to how often that happens. I just get told from people that it's a common thing that somebody doesn't have proof of fare, and then what happens? And I'm curious because over time it would allow, it would make for a lot of loss, monetary loss. Mm-hmm. But okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Any other questions from members? I don't think I acknowledged Michelle online either. I'm sorry. Michelle is here as well, if I'm saying that correctly.
So do we have a form?
Yeah. I don't think we do. We're still one short. All right, no more questions. Thank you both very much. I apologize, Alicia, for mispronouncing your name.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you.
Yay, blue line.
Somebody called Canada.
Christina, welcome back yet again.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm Christina Morrison. I'm a principal project coordinator with Metro Transit and Engineering and Facilities. And I'm back for another update on our Blue Line Lake Street renovation. And looks like I can. Maybe I can click. Oh. Okay. Great. All right. Well, thank you. So the renovation work, this is kind of a little bit of a refresher for those who have seen this project here before, but the renovation work here is due as the station is over 20 years in service now. And just kind of as a refresher, the scope here will include both north and south elevator lobbies that currently have stairs, elevators, and escalators, as well as the platform level shelters. The overhead canopy, the windscreens, and all the customer amenities. So this is a very large scope in the redo. Everything's in. This photo on this slide shows a view of the station platform when approaching that platform from the existing upstairs vestibule at the top of the stairs and the escalator. The goals for the station renovation are to provide reliable accessibility to the station. We know it being a two-story station that is a continuous problem that we have here. We also want to reduce the daily maintenance required while enhancing how our staff can successfully operate in this location, and then to improve the overall customer experience. Let's see. Do I need to? Oh. You can advance the slides. I'm ready to go to the next slide, please. Okay, thanks. So this project started planning back in 2022, and we've had periodic updates at this group since that time. Since my last visit in September, we've progressed the design to about our 90% plan milestone. Our last visit was around 30% plans, so there are some updates to share on how things have shaped up. And just noting here that on our timeline, the construction for the station renovation will take place largely in 2026 and 2027. Next slide, please. So today I want to share some info on public feedback we've heard, and then talk about the design topics, including the platform and canopy details, how we've modified the new track crossing, simplifying the street level design, that's something we've gotten feedback on, and further development of the new pedestrian ramp concept on the south side of the station. And this photo just shows the view from the station platform with kind of that partial glass canopy and glass shelters that we have today. Next slide, please. So we hosted our second open house in February and had more than 50 people attend, including committee member Ken Rogers. Key things that we heard at that open house include ongoing personal safety concerns at this location and support for continued use of our supplemental security team, which is currently on site 24 hours a day, as well as increased lighting on both levels of the station. We heard that people appreciated the clear sightlines on the new platform and the full canopy to protect them from rain and snow, as well as creating shade in our hot summers. We proposed and heard positive feedback about the idea of adding an outdoor public toilet in the plaza. So that's a component that we are moving forward as part of this project. We also heard some concerns, questions about mitigating weather. So this is really moving towards a fully open air kind of outdoor station, whereas today it has some heated vestibules. We heard questions if the perforated metal screen would adequately block winds, as well as a request for better heater options for passengers waiting for the train. We also heard a lot of questions about the construction phase, not all of which we can answer yet, but we can start to talk about that a little bit today. And a lot of interest on how people will access transit during construction. The design rendering on this page shows the proposed center platform, clear of obstructions down the center, with a perforated gold-colored metal panel on the outside of the tracks and along the sides of the staircase. So one thing we're doing is we're replacing a lot of glass that today we see frequent breakage out there, and that is a burden on the customer experience, I'll say, as we need to get out and replace glass nearly every day at the site. We also show here kind of that white ceiling canopy that stretches overhead and to the outside of the tracks, and show passengers waiting for the train under that canopy. And if you're interested in reading more about the open house, we do have a full engagement report on our website at metrotransit.org/high-lake. Next slide, please. So we're continuing to refine the platform design at Lake Street, including being mindful of keeping door areas clear for each train car, and by doing things like placing benches outside of those door zones. We're also adding yellow between car barriers at this location, and adding tactile door mats at the front door of each train. The photo on this slide shows between car barriers already installed on the Green Line extension. These barriers are kind of the series of the yellow vertical bollards at different heights placed at the edge of the platform, parallel to the tracks, to warn people that that space is between the train cars and it's not a door. You all might be familiar with this from other work you've done on other light rail lines. In response to public feedback, we have also eliminated the proposed heated benches. That was something we were showing early in design. And instead, we're pursuing a hanging heater, more of a pendant style like you see on our bus shelters, that would better serve all users. That will not be placed over benches, and unlike the heated bench idea, it does not require sitting to use, so anyone can use them, whether they're standing or sitting in a wheelchair or moving through the platform. Next slide, please. So one item that was flagged and redesigned since our last meeting is the relationship between the canopy and the new track crossing at the top of the pedestrian ramp. So we had originally envisioned this as a fully covered crossing, but when we started to look at the 3D model and the renderings that were being produced, it was clear that the structure needed to support that additional canopy was actually detrimental to the sightlines of both users and the train operator, creating what we found to be an unacceptable and unsafe crossing condition. So in our revised design, we are peeling back that canopy about 40 feet. We're able to, like I would say, literally daylight that crossing. We're opening it up to full sunshine and provide that direct line of sight between the operator and the riders. Both sides of the new track crossing will also have truncated domes and standard warning devices seen at other rail stations. So this will be much like crossing at, down the line at 38th Street, 46th Street, or up at Franklin. You'll just have an at-grade track crossing that is uncovered with sort of the same treatments otherwise. So the first of the two images here show the initial design, the canopy and the side panels sort of obscuring the view of the train operator and making the crossing and the person waiting in the crossing hard to see, while the second design eliminates the vertical obstruction and allows the train operator to view the passenger that is waiting to cross. Next slide, please. And this is just a second view, the same design as the revised slide, but from the rider's perspective. So you can get a sense of what it is like to wait at that crossing and see the train operator in that sort of blocky blue box, which is a stand-in for the front of the train in this picture. Next slide, thanks. So on this next slide, we're talking about the street level environment, and the rendering here shows the south entrance under the LRT bridge looking from Lake Street, which will now include an elevator close to the curb. So this is a big improvement, bringing the elevator from about 100 feet off the curb to sort of the first thing as you approach the station. And that elevator faces the street and has a glass vestibule. Behind the elevator, there is a staircase up to the platform, and behind that staircase is a new transit service center that will face out on Market Square Plaza. In our public feedback, we heard interest in simplifying the staircases and levels proposed to tie into this plaza. So originally we had a couple different kind of like plinth areas or like places that you would go up a couple steps and then move forward and then go up a few more steps. We've sort of simplified that based on what we've heard from this group and the public in general. We're also adding real-time signs and a public announcement system to street level that allows both audio and visual announcements about service, including notices about shutdowns or emergencies. For example, if the station is closed, you would not have to go up to the platform level to get that audio and visual information. So that's an improvement and a change for us because today we do not have that information available at street level. And by simplifying this area, we're also providing a more seamless movement to the new transit service center, which will have exterior facing ticket windows, and we'll have 2 staff in that location providing transit information, and people can buy fare products at those windows as well. Next slide, please. Thanks. So this slide shows an updated rendering of the new pedestrian ramp on the south side of the station, which is an accessible switchback design from Market Square, the park at this location, up to the platform with seating and landscape that integrates into the park. We've been working closely with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board on the approval of this new ramp, which they did approve in February, and we are continuing to work with them on sort of the details of design, easements, and operations with park board staff. So the ramp is a fully accessible slope. It will have underlit handrails, and we're adding a small curb to the edge of the path to ensure that edges are easy to follow. This ramp is also planned to have a full snow melt system, which will help us deter snow and ice and facilitate quick maintenance in the winter. And then finally, excuse me, I wanted to give a preview of some of the construction approach and phasing, and this is still very much in development at Metro Transit while we work closely with rail operations and engineering. But construction is proposed to begin in spring of 2026 and be completed in roughly fall of 2027. That is being closely coordinated with a broader Blue Line long-term shutdown planned during both summers, one in each summer. A longer closure of the station is being studied to greatly reduce the duration of construction and to improve worksite safety on this aerial platform. You can imagine it is going to be quite challenging to maintain boarding on an aerial platform where there are trains running through the station and heavy construction is happening all around. So that discussion of the closure of the station during construction is currently under review and subject to rail operations approval. We expect to take that to their committee on June 5th. We are also working within Metro Transit to discuss different options and approaches for replacement bus service to the High Lake area. And I'm hoping we'll have more information on construction rolling out to the public this summer. And I believe that's all my slides, so I'm happy to take questions or comments.
I have a couple questions. Do any other members have questions before I go? Maybe you can ask my question for me. Go ahead, Claudia.
Just a quick question about elevators. Will they be constructed safely? Will they be taken care of so that they don't break down? And if they do break down, what would be the options?
Yes, Chair, committee members. So yes, we are constructing 2 new elevators at this location. So the old elevators will be demolished, retired. The new elevators would be, a fully safe operation up to current code, which is 20 years newer than the last time the station was built. We definitely have heard loud and clear from this group and from other public feedback that while there's support for the ramp, it is not a substitute for elevator maintenance. And we are moving forward. I'll say there's broader discussions at Metro Transit about how to manage the growing sort of fleet of elevators that we have as far as facilitating quicker and maybe more proactive elevator maintenance. So yes, we're kind of moving forward on all fronts. New facilities, new elevators, and then also working on elevator maintenance, all of the above situation.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have data to support this, but something tells me that a well-maintained and always open bathroom might keep the elevators from having similar occurrences inside of them.
Yes, Chair. So we have definitely seen one of the needs for a public toilet here is stemming out of just that desperation that we have where people are using other parts of the station as a restroom. And so we are hopeful that by focusing that activity in a restroom that is, connected to the sewer system and that it's easy to clean and that it's easy to take care of, we can improve maintenance in other parts of the station. It's a really practical approach.
It's a lot cheaper to replace a toilet than an elevator.
It's easier to wash a toilet than to wash the platform, yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the image provided for the ramp. I believe that was the same image that we saw at the 30% plans back in September of 2024. And one of the comments at that time was how far the start, if you will, to the ramp is from all the other improvements you made inside, from curb access to ticketing. It's, as far as I can tell from the site, is far away from all of those where one would get their ticket and start the process and get off on the curb. It's as far away as possible, or as far on the site south from those amenities. And one of the comments was just really trying hard through design and engineering to find a way to have the entrance to the ramp or the starting point as close to those amenities as possible. So I would just stress, if I think it was said at the time, we understand grades, we understand, slopes that you're dealing with, but, trying to find a way to engineer around that, I think would be extremely benefit for when the elevator does inevitably, fail. And hopefully it's not in winter, because while the ramp is heated, which is really exciting, that's great to have kind of autonomous maintenance going on. I would recommend if there's no way to get the entry to the ramp closer to those amenities, is looking at the pedestrian access route or the way in which someone who might be rolling or, need to access the ramp, having that incorporated into the heating plan. I think it would help facilitate more accessible use of the ramp, again, when it fails, and if it's in the winter. So more comments, not questions, but I just hope those are taken into consideration as you're wrapping up.
Thank you. Yeah, Chair, committee members. So we did study a couple of different configurations where we brought the ramp all the way down to Lake Street so that it kind of, the entrance and exit to it was in a similar location to the south stair tower and the south elevator. The grade is very challenging here. Basically what we found with that design is that it essentially mimicked the sidewalk that's there today, because it has to drop from where you see the bottom of the ramp today to that south elevator is about a 10-foot drop. So we sort of weighed this idea of, do we use the existing sidewalk or do we create a parallel ramp that sort of maybe further removes the ability for the market to operate there by creating that kind of redundant pathway? It is a trade-off, and I do think your point about entrance to the ramp not being heated is a good point that we can work on, specifically with MPRB. MPRB actually owns this sidewalk that's shown on the left it's shown here with the Market Square Midtown Farmers Market tents on it, as you might see it on a Saturday morning. I think working with them on an agreement about how we're going to maintain that sidewalk so that we always have access to the ramp and that it's consistent with the maintenance that we're doing in the rest of the station, which tends to come on our light rail system very early in the morning as kind of a high priority for boarding. So those are good points that I will move forward.
Eric, in terms of amenities, you're talking like ticketing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just, it was mentioned that they looked at that south entrance, the stair entrance, and they made some improvements of pushing the elevator closer to the curb. And then behind that, I'm assuming that's to the south, is the ticketing, which they pushed forward as well. From that rendering, we see it's kind of, I'm assuming that's the south, so I'm assuming all that's on the north.
Yeah.
And then to get to the ramp, you have to go through the market. You have to come all the way south to the furthest reach of the site where there's a parking lot on the back end. And that's another, I mean, not to keep going on this, but talking with the property owners south of this, obtaining easements so you can stretch out, chasing grade and then try to get it back so you're not extending all the way to maybe Lake or to the north to the sidewalk. That's essentially the comment that I was seeing.
No, it does seem to be about as far away as possible from the overhang, but that's a really good point. Thank you. Any other questions from folks? Yeah, go ahead.
I just kind of lost with what Eric's saying. I'm trying to figure it out.
I can, after I'll come over and I'll show you what I'm trying to describe.
He needs a laser pointer to show you.
Yeah, really.
Any other questions? Otherwise, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. It sounds like good things are happening on Lake Street. Thank you, Christina.
Thanks, everybody.
You too.
Do you want me to present from there?
It's up to you.
Sure,
It's
it'd be fine.
totally up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
We can just be a group rather than
Appreciate that.
a lecture. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we have. I have to introduce you. That's right. All right. So we have a Metro Mobility update, and Julie Sellner will be doing that for us. Hello, Julie. Welcome.
Thank you. So at the last committee meeting, you had requested to have stats more frequent. We're hoping to achieve that. I'm hoping to achieve that with every meeting. Please don't hold us to that, but we'll do the best that we can, okay? And so I know that you all know Cheryl, but I wanted to add both Cheryl and my contact information by email there, so that's available for you. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this is the transit service structure. I know a lot of you are very familiar with that. On one side, we have Metro Transit, who has been with us yet today. And then the transportation services, which are contracted services, which covers both Metro Mobility, Fixed Route, Transit Link, Metro Move, Metro Micro, forgive me for that, and Vanpool. It's an alternate service contracts. The service provides operation and fleet maintenance, reservations and dispatch. Cost is based on revenue hours performed. Service performance criteria, which include both bonus and diamond structures. Next slide, please. And again, I know this is relatively repetitive from the last time that you received this. This is the organizational chart for the contracted transit services. And in there, you'll see that Charles Carlson, he's the executive division director. Jerry Sutton is the director, and then each of the services underneath it that are provided by contracted services. It's kind of your roadmap on who to contact if you're having issues with any contracted services that are in that field. Next slide, please. The Metro Mobility Program is a shared ride public transportation service for certified riders who are unable to use the regular fixed route system due to a disability or a health condition. Some service guaranteed as a civil right under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The program is regulated by the FTA, the Federal Transportation Administration, and the state. The Minnesota statutory requirement is found on 473.386. Trips are provided for any purpose. 2024 ridership, we finalized at 1.8 million trips in 2024, and year-to-date, we're currently at 531,000. Next slide. Customer relations, which is where Cheryl and I primarily reside. We have 41,000 eligible customers, approximately 19,000 active riders. That's changing on a daily basis. 40% are eligible for waivered transportation. 25% are certified with conditional eligibility. 30% trips require the use of Lyft. Guests and personal care attendants are book trips that will include them. Rides booked through the contracted reservations by phone, email, or through our online booking system. Metro Mobility Service Center, we administer the program and contract administration, customer service and outreach, certification and eligibility, ID cards, go-to cards, and ID card processing. We also serve as an emergency backup to the providers. Next slide, please. Fleet and technology profile. Revenue vehicles, these are council-owned fleet. Currently, we have 499 cutaway buses in the field, all equipped with lifts. 21 minivans, those are ramp equipped. 33 SUVs, those are for ambulatory only. 76% of the fleet are 2023 to 2025 newer vehicles, which is a great improvement over the last couple of years. The contractor is responsible for the use and the maintenance terms in the contract. The average cost for a new 2025 bus is approximately $153,000. They're budgeted at a 10% spare ratio. We usually retire them after 5 years or 175,000 miles. Now, lately it's been closer to 275, and we're slowly starting to rectify that, so that's a positive thing. Information technologies used is our trapeze scheduling system and dispatch system. Mobile data terminals are in the vehicles, external and internal cameras, cubic fare collection system, GPS, the Armor radio system, and remote gate entry for vehicle security. Next slide, please. We have service contracts in 3 zones. The west zone is from 2021 to 2027. Same thing with the east zone, 2021 to 2027. The south zone is 20 to 2026. We also include a premium on-demand or a taxi service. We just recently renewed that contract and goes from 2025 to 2029. Transportation Plus has been the primary and the current provider of that service. We expect Carepool to be in the very near future. We're hoping within the next 30 days we'll be able to introduce them as one of the providers for that service. and possibly one additional vendor to be added to this service in the future. Next slide, please. ADA versus non-ADA. Now, I know you're all very familiar with this, and you probably don't need me to go through it, but I'm going to read through it this once, and next time we'll just kind of, if you have any questions, you let me know. The ADA service area, which is in the blue, is an FTA ADA mandated complementary paratransit service. The service is provided within a 3/4 mile and similar hours of the regular route or rail. Enforced as a civil right by the DOJ, subject to federal service quality thresholds, zero trip denials. Non-ADA service area, which is in the white, about 1/3 of the rides provided are in this area. The ride requests are placed on standby and are not subject to the federal rules around trip denials. Service areas and service hour adjustments are perpetually under review. Next slide, please. Key performance metrics, on-time performance. The ADA goal is 100%. We are contracted at 90%. For non-ADA on-time performance is 85% threshold. Appointment time, the percentage of all trips that arrive no later than the negotiated appointment time and no earlier than 30 minutes early to the scheduled appointment time. Appointment time, ADA goal is 100%. We're contracted at 85% and also 85% for non-ADA. On-board time, the percentage of trips that do not exceed the calculated maximum on-board time. ADA goal is 100%, contracted at 95%, and non-ADA goal of 95%. Capacity denials, or the count of requested trips that were unable to be performed due to the system capacity constraints. ADA goal is 0 for both ADA and non-ADA. And just as a note, the American Disability Act does not permit transit agencies to have any capacity constraints in ADA paratransit. Capacity constraints are defined as operational patterns or practices that significantly limit the availability of service to ADA paratransit eligible individuals. Next slide, please. For all trips year-to-date, 2025 year-to-date, our on-time performance is at 93.9%. In 2024, we finished the year off at 91.8 overall. Of the 531,000 performed trips, 32,400 were late pickups. Appointment time performance currently at 93.9%. In 2024, we ended at 89.2%. Of the 161.5 thousand trips, 1,300 arrivals were too early, 8,400 arrivals were late. On-board time performance is 97.4%. In 2024, we finalized at 95.7%. Of the 531,000 trips, 13,800 trips were too long. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to take this data and break it out by ADA and non-ADA. So the on-time performance for ADA is 94%. 2024, we were at 92%. Our appointment time performance for ADA is 93.9%. In 2024, we finalized at 89.4. I wish it was 98, sorry, we're getting there. On-board time performance is currently at 97%. In 2024, we're at 95.3. Looking at the non-ADA information, next slide, please. On-time performance of 93.8%. Appointment time performance of 93.9%. And on-board time currently at 98.3%. Next slide, please. Our non-ADA trip denials currently is 0. In 2024, we had a total of 111, a majority of them happening in January of that year. And in 2023, we had 10,700. So we have shown great improvement in that area. Next slide, please. The premium on-demand service, that is a taxi app option service since 2004. Currently to date, or I'm sorry, I'm wrong. This is only January information. That's the actual information I've been able to verify so far this year. We have performed 14,320 rides, which is a 46% increase over last January. And we have seen a 505% increase on Lyft usage. So we have far more people using the Lyft and using that service than we did a year ago. It's a 5-year contract with Transportation Plus. It's available to any certified Metromobility client. It's the same service area and hours as Metromobility. Comparable wheelchair accessibility vehicle. The council pays $20 per ride. It is on demand via a custom iHail app provided by the provider and expands service throughout the region with advanced booking. So you can book up to 4 days advance with that service. Next slide, please. The temporary pilots, some of these are coming to an end. We have regular route 1-cent fares from January through June. Those are Metromobility certified customers can ride for 1 cent on any fixed route system or route. We're hoping that that will become permanent and it may even become free with legislation approval. Additional premium on-demand service, legislatively mandated. And again, it allows for Metromobility customers who live in the areas with transit service hours to have transportation options. It is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays. That is ending in June, as far as we know, without a legislative approval. That must be booked 1 to 4 days in advance. We'll have 2 providers for the service in the very near future. If you recall, I mentioned that Carpool will be coming on board, hopefully within the next 30 days. They are in a startup phase right now. Next slide, please. Customer support and stakeholder engagement. Hard copy and digital subscription newsletters, usually biannual, community conversations, adversary group outreach and listening sessions, training partnerships, Transit Accessibility Advisory Committee with the Metromobility Liaison role and the MTS Recording Secretary role. TAC members regularly engage as subject matter experts and key stakeholders on MTS projects, including RFPs. Which you guys all know since there's no audience here, right? Sorry about that. Next slide, please. And this goes on to explain more about the TAC committee in case there were people in the audience that it was created with the 15 members plus chair, all aspects of fixed route and special transportation service accessibility. Advises the council on long-term range plans to meet accessibility needs, agenda and work plan to set by TAC chair. We meet the first Wednesdays of each month from 12:30 to 2:30. Meetings are open to the public and held in the chambers here. Next slide, please. I won't read that one on the next one, okay, guys, sorry. And then we had some member questions that were remaining from the last time that we updated stats in December of 2024. One of the things they had asked was for an update in the DriverMate. DriverMate acts as an electronic manifest for drivers, allowing for real-time scheduling and trip updates. It's an improved communication between drivers and dispatch. The tablets would replace the Rangers that are currently being used in the vehicles. We're currently working through some technical and network issues. There has been no live date established yet. I know that we have weekly meetings on this, updating our progress in tackling those technical difficulties that we have been facing. And then our premium on-demand service, I know that we spent a lot of time on that today. And again, this is just mentioning about Carpool hopefully coming on within the next 30 days and that they're currently in startup progress. Are there any other questions?
Thank you very much. I have a few. Eric, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Looking at some of the key performance metrics, when it comes to on-time performance or on-board time performance, it says, there's so many that are late pickups and there's so many that the rides take too long. When you're collecting this data, is there any exclusions for certain issues if it was traffic related or the vehicle broke down?
We have not necessarily identified that incident by incident where we have kept a track record of that. Usually we will, when a client calls and asks for their buses, we know what the cause is, whether it's during peak hours or there's been a vehicle accident or some sort of that.
So these, I guess, so these numbers are free of any exclusions, like no late pickup was taken out because of something, there's no exclusion metrics, essentially. It's all the raw
No,
data.
so we would
Okay,
have
all right,
a
that's
true reading of it.
Yeah,
yes.
that's all I was wondering. Thank you.
We'd look much better if we did.
A couple.
Dad.
Yes, Sam, go ahead. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes, oh yeah.
A couple things. So what happens if, let's say, a ride was like over an hour late to pick up someone? I just want to make sure that this is, and that person left because they found another way home, but they weren't able to get on to schedule the ride, or I'm sorry, to cancel the ride. And so presumably it came anyway. Is that also counted as a late ride, or how is that counted?
Yes, it is. It's counted as a late trip, a missed trip, an NSAP provider violation.
Okay. And then my next question, if it's okay, is the premium on demand. Did you say there was something ending with that? I missed it. I apologize.
I didn't quite understand.
So the question, and I
Is there any-
had this exact question too, but I figured somebody else would ask it.
Okay.
It's the,
Go ahead and,
Oh.
did you,
Yeah.
maybe you
So,
can phrase
so
it
right
better.
now we are in extended hours, meaning that we're providing additional service hours above and beyond the fixed route hours in that service area. As of June, that will change to only the hours that are being provided by the fixed route service as mandated by the FTA.
does that make sense, Sam?
I'm
So
trying to think.
all-
So fixed route meaning,
So so the legislature essentially passed a bill saying that premium on demand in the more outer reaches of the system would have to have extended hours on top of what is required because of, 45 minutes within the last bus or whatever. Is that more or less correct?
Right.
And that is ending unless the legislature does something, and it's just going to go back to what it was before, what's required by the feds.
Correct. So an example would be if the city of Maple Grove service ends at 11 p.m., that the premium service would be available until 11 p.m. If Saturday service in Maple Grove, and I'm not sure this is guesswork or
no,
as
it
an
ends
example,
much earlier than that.
ends at 6 p.m., then the premium service would only be available until that 6 p.m. instead of these overall general hours that have been provided.
Because some of those end really early. Okay. And okay. And when is this a final decision, or they have to vote on that?
Is this could you just say that?
I guess the question would be, is there a bill and is it moving forward in a legislature to
There is,
extend
and we're
this?
very hopeful that it
Okay.
may.
Okay. So,
Sorry, I missed.
so there is a bill and it is moving forward in the legislature to keep this additional premium on demand service hours in place.
Okay. And then my last question is there any thought, or I don't think this is possible, but we are not able to use our Go cards in the premium demand, same day, right?
Right.
That is correct, Sam.
Okay. Is there any thought of being able to allow us to do that, or is it such a different system that they couldn't take money off that?
I Forgive me, I'm hard of hearing and I'm having a hard time making out the words. I
Oh,
can
no.
hear your voice, but not the words, so forgive me, it's me, not you. If
Oh,
I'm
it's okay.
understanding
It
your
might just
question
be me.
correctly, we have to provide the
Go
service.
card?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any way to, I think, Sam, the question is if, when, any way to be able to pay for premium on demand with your Go card? Is that correct, Sam?
That is correct.
There's nothing in the talks about that.
Not going to happen anytime soon?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing in the talks about that.
So,
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions. Thank you so much.
Great questions.
yes, very good questions. All right, I have at least 3 questions. So I'm very intrigued and happy to see the improvement with the non-ADA area in terms of denied trips. It's drastic. Do you know why that is?
Pressure on the providers to ensure that we're doing that, the oversight
job.
of us to ensure that
Okay.
we're doing everything that we possibly can to not deny rides.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, that's
Pressure is the
good.
wrong word.
Incentives.
Motivating, incentives, yes.
And I really like the increase in premium on-demand service usage, specifically for accessible vehicles. I know that was an issue, and I think that's why we brought Carepool in. I am very curious, 505% increase in Lyft usage on what? Is it
On
like,
just the Lyft usage.
I
the
know,
Lyft
but
being
did it go
part.
from 2 rides to 10 rides, or from 10 rides to 100 rides? Like, that's a.
You know, I have the exact details on my computer. I didn't write them in here, and I will include them next time. But I believe in January of 2024, we were in double digits use of Lyft.
Okay,
And in this year of 2025, we're in the thousands.
okay, good.
So
Yeah,
it's a
because
significant increase in demand of that.
I was hoping the percentages would be higher numbers, not, from 1 to 5, 500% increase.
No, it's more drastic than that.
Thank you. Cool. And then, all right, you asked the sunset on the premium on demand. Is that in the transportation omnibus bill? This is probably a question for somebody else.
It probably
and I can
is a
find it on
question
my
for
own.
Andy and
Okay.
not myself, but Kevin may
Okay.
know.
I can also find the answer
Okay.
through other routes too. I'm just very curious. So we can advocate for that continuing.
Yes.
I would say it's kind of similar to us having a non-ADA zone where, the legislature decided we want to provide more service that's not, required by the feds. So we stepped up to the plate and did it. Or rolled up to the plate and did it. Fantastic. Those are all the questions I have. Any other questions from members? Did you have more questions, Daryl?
I did, but I forgot them because I was in the bathroom.
Very, very important work.
I'll call Julie. I've caught her by mistake on the phone a couple times, so.
No, this was a really good comprehensive overview. We will be having some new members join us, hopefully within the next 6 months, so
Are they members from our,
we'll talk about that. But I'm just saying we want to do this again probably within the next 6 months, just so we can get the overview for new members, is what I'm saying. Yeah, we don't have them yet, and I'll talk about that after this too for folks, but just letting you know that we'd love to have you back. These were great numbers. I am curious about the increase on premium on demand and Lyft usage too, so next time.
I will. I've already made a note to make sure I include it, so.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. That was great, Julie, thank you. We're cruising right along here. All right, so let's jump into, I don't think Ken's on. Daryl, did you have anything for us for gold or purple?
I don't, but I promise I will bring something back for you next month. If I can't bring the state fair folks with me.
Cool, thank you, Daryl. Sounds perfectly.
And just give me instead of 5 minutes, just give me 7 minutes and I'll just do.
Okay. Next month?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment? I have to put it out there. All right, so member comment. I will go first in member comment. To let you know that members, we've had 3 resignations from the board. Chris Bates resigned. He was in precinct B. Diane Graham Raff and then also Richard Rowan. And they were agency appointed folks, but we are in the process of getting new folks appointed from their agencies, and then having other people apply from precinct B. Yes, Daryl?
And those agencies are which ones?
Area on Aging and then AARP, so both aging organizations. So we don't.
I can reach out to them or reach out to the senior caucus.
Okay. If you want to, that's fine. We've had some interaction with the appointing bodies already, but it doesn't hurt to spread the news a little more. So we'll have some new members hopefully within the next 6 months. Bureaucracy doesn't move fast, so don't expect it next month. And neither do I.
But is this a reason why it's probably counting it? And we don't have a quorum?
I'd have to look at the bylaws. We might have a quorum. We're at 50% right now, and it's 50% plus one, like with the 16-member body. But I guess we're not a 16-member body anymore. We're a 13-member body. But I'm not sure what the bylaws say, so I'm not gonna. We can approve the minutes and the agenda next month.
All right.
Yeah. Any other member comment? Yes.
How long wasn't Chris around, or he was on the TAC for quite some time, wasn't he?
I should go back and look, but it's been well over 5 years, I think.
Okay.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily, because you think the pandemic started 5 years ago. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think he was around before that too.
So if somebody wants to do a card, or I can do a card, and we can try to circulate it.
Yeah. Should we do that? Should we? I'm
That's-
happy to.
That was gonna be kind of the
We can
follow-up,
do
just
it
like,
if somebody just lets me do it electronically, I can just send them.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
It's cheaper, it's quicker. Boom.
We can do a little card. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll.
TAC.
I might just get some cards and bring them in next month, and we can all write something on it. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that. That's better.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do. Any other member comment? That's a great idea, Daryl.
And those of us online, we can send you our messages we want put into the card
Yes.
Sure.
if you're going to bring
Definitely.
them in.
Definitely.
hopefully he's
Okay.
not watching.
Yeah, he was on for a long time, I think.
He was, and he always brought good perspective too.
Yes, we will. I will
As-
miss him.
As did Diane and Richard.
And he always had good support out in the community too. I would reach out to him outside of the committee, and he would always have the perspective of who he was talking to. So if he knew he was talking to somebody in transit, he would always bring that conversation back to that topic. That was a unique skill that a lot of people with disabilities don't get the opportunity to learn that a lot.
He was a man of the people, that's for sure. Any other comments from folks? Otherwise, we can end a little bit early. 30 minutes early, what time is it? About 30 minutes, cool. Thank you all. We are adjourned.
It's like 10:40.